Okay, so this is about Redeemed Christian Church of God. This is about Redeemed Christian Church of God and how some of the pastors and leaders in Redeemed Christian Church of God, Nigeria, they have churches and congregations worldwide, but their headquarters is in Nigeria, and the general overseer is Pastor Adeboye. This is about how there are people in the membership, in the leadership, that are crooks, that are corrupt. This is about how some people in this movement have defrauded other members of congregations, and how it's been covered up. It's been covered up by the leadership. It's been covered up by Pastor Adeboye, who ordered an investigation into one of these basically criminal frauds. He ordered an investigation into one of them, and the result of the investigation he kept from the victims of the fraud. He kept it to himself or to themselves. I know this because I read a report in the Nigerian newspaper, and my own experience of theft from a pastor, an area pastor of a Redeemed Christian church called Area Pastor Afolabi. He presently has stolen the house my late mother bequeathed myself and my other 3 siblings. He has occupied that house since 2019 up to the present time. He's presently occupying it. He's demolished walls and rooms inside the house in order to make a big hall, turn the house into a big hall where he holds his church every Sunday, probably during the week. That's the crookedness that's going on in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. The Redeemed Christian Church of God has a reputation for doing the sort of things that they've done to me and my siblings and to my late mum's building. I've spoken to numerous solicitors, Nigerian solicitors, about my case, and they've told me, each one of them has told me, that they are dealing with other cases of similar things concerning the Redeemed Christian Church of God. I have a cousin that has told me, he's based in Lagos, and he's told me that Redeemed Christian Church of God have a big reputation for this, stealing land grabbing, property grabbing. And I have read several newspaper stories. I have copies of those stories. Where they've done similar things. For example, I have a copy of the story where they were renting a community centre in a housing estate. I think it was in Lagos, that they weren't the only ones renting this community centre, because it's for anyone in that area to rent it. But they took it over and they didn't allow anyone else to rent it. They didn't allow anyone on the estate, the housing estate where it was situated, to rent it. And they refused to vacate the premises. They refused to vacate the premises. They took it over to the the estate managers, the managers of the estate, tried to get them out legally, but the legal system is useless. It's useless for ordinary people. It's useless. I find that out myself, and the solicitor they were using made mistakes, and they had to issue repeated notices to quit to them, which they ignored. Eventually, the management of that housing estate had to resort to employing builders to physically go on the roof to remove the roof. And even in that, they were resisted by church members. That's the extent they had to go to get them out, to physically remove the roof of the community centre. This is the sort of thing they, Redeemed Christian Church of God, get up to. And that this leader, Adeboye, and he's revered by them, he's revered by this movement. He does nothing about it. He's done nothing to help me. So my own case started in 2019 when, and coincidentally, I travelled to Nigeria around the time they took over, but I didn't know that that's what they were going to do. But I travelled because I hadn't been there for a long time. I wasn't able to stay in my late mother's house because I discovered that the executor, or one of my mother's executors, was a Redeemed Christian Church of God member, and unfortunately she made him an executor. She should not have made him an executor. After my late mother died, I discovered this man who had been a family friend for decades, since I was young. I slowly discovered that this man's a crook, and that my mum should never have made him an executor of her will. She should never have made him an executor of her will. And I found out when I got to Nigeria in 2019 that he had broken in to this house. This house is in 20 Ogundele Street, Abule Egba, Lagos. So he had broken into the house, and he had changed the locks, and he had given the keys to this pastor. He had before that tried to sell our property to this pastor and his church. I found out later that he had approached them to sell the church to them, and they had done a deal behind our backs, knowing that it wasn't his property, knowing that he hadn't asked our permission to do that. They knew. This pastor of Afolabi knew exactly what he was doing. So this executor, Lolu Dada is his name. Lolu Dada, the late Lolu Dada, he died. This executor had asked for a sum of money, and it's a large sum in Nigerian terms. It was about 1.1 million naira from the church and the pastor of Afolabi. He had asked for 1.1 million naira as a down payment, as a deposit, to begin the process of selling our house to the church, to begin the process. He told this pastor of Afolabi that if he receives the 1.1 million naira, he will travel to London to speak to my siblings to convince them to sell. Not me, mind you, not me, because he already knew that I didn't trust him. My mum died in 2013, and from that year I had experience of him that led me not to trust him, and I warned my siblings about him. They ignored me. But he knew that I didn't trust him, so he told the pastor that he would convince my siblings, but he didn't tell the pastor he would convince me. And it wasn't his intention to speak to me. But unfortunately for him, he received the 1.1 million naira from this pastor and the church. But, and that is only a fraction of what our house would have cost, because that's just a down payment. The full price of our house in Naira would have been 30 million, something like that, something like 30 million. So he had an accident in his car where he got, I think his leg was injured, something like that. And I think he didn't treat it properly, he didn't attend to it properly, and I think it got worse. And I think he wasn't able to travel to London to speak to my siblings. And the pastor approached him and asked him when they would be able to have possession of the house. And he told them he can't go to London at the moment, but they can be using it in the meantime, that they can be using it in the meantime, you know. And he had broken into our house, changed the locks, and then he gave them the keys and gave them permission, which he wasn't entitled to do, to occupy the place, to take it over. And he had already done this, given them the keys by the time I came in 2019. And I was there for 2 months. And I actually spoke to this pastor and told him that he didn't have my agreement to buy the house, and he didn't have my agreement, any of our agreement to occupy the house, that we, to a large extent, didn't know much about this, although my siblings knew something. So, yet, about 2 weeks before I was to travel back, something like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before I was to travel back from Lagos to London, I heard that he had started demolishing walls inside. He had actually started demolishing walls inside. He'd started demolishing the walls for my late mother's bedroom and bathroom. She had her own bathroom with a boiler and nice tiles and a bath. He demolished her room. He demolished it. And I went to see, and I took photographs, and it was in ruins. I could see ruins, broken. I could see the broken walls, and I then got padlocks and padlocked the front door. And I was advised by one of my uncles to contact some local police who came to see the place and found this pastor and another pastor there and called them to the police station. So unfortunately, when I came to a meeting about 2 days later to meet the head policeman, he basically betrayed me, and in retrospect I could see that he had taken bribes from this pastor. I could see that he's taken bribes. He pleaded with me privately to allow them access so that they could hold some prayer meetings, and he said I should hold some sort of negotiation with them. I wasn't happy to do that, but I did that. I didn't have my uncle supporting me, and he was the one that told me to tell the police. And basically I had to go back to London about 2 weeks later, and I was in contact with this pastor who was very dishonest. He was basically very dishonest. And during conversation with him, I realized that this man is dishonest. This man is not going to do what he said he would do. He said he was only going to be there for a year. They was only going to rent the place for a year. And I asked for certain proof of certain things that he told me, and he said he would send the proof, and he didn't send the proof. And when I phoned him to chase him up, he refused to answer me. I probably phoned him 100 times and he refused to answer me. I realized this man is taking over our house, and he doesn't intend to vacate the place in a year. And in March 2020, around the time of the coronavirus, the pandemic, I travelled back to Nigeria without telling him, to confront him about our place. I travelled back, I spent my own money, and I came to my own house, my mum's property, when they were holding a Sunday service. And after the Sunday service, I made myself known to him and the congregation, and I stated plainly that they should not be there, that this is a house, it's not a church. You've broken down walls. And when I came, I found that he's knocked down another wall to make the space bigger. He's knocked down another wall near the front of the house. He's also removed our front door and replaced it with another door. He's done all that. So when he was aware of my presence, he called the police on me. He called these police on me, these corrupt Lagos police on me. That's what he did. And I found that I was supposed to be there for 2 months. I ended up being in Lagos for 10 months because of the pandemic, because they cancelled air travel. And during those 2 months, 10 months, I was trying my best to get them out. The general overseer, this leader of this Redeemed Christian Church of God, I made the effort to travel to where he lived in the Redeemed Christian Church Redemption Camp, which is quite away from Lagos. It's out of Lagos. It's about 2 hours out of Lagos. It wasn't easy for me to get there in the heat. It was a big effort. Someone helped take me there. I wrote a personal letter to General Overseer Pastor E.A. Adeboye, telling him what one of his area pastors was doing. I wrote a personal letter to him. Later on, I went back there with another letter addressed to his wife. I never heard anything from Pastor E.A. Adeboye, even though I included my address, both London and Lagos, and I also included my email and my phone number. I never heard anything from him. I never heard anything from him at all. He never replied. So I consider this G.O. Adeboye to be a corrupt church leader. He's corrupt because I had already read that he did an investigation into other fraud carried out by church members and never released the results to the victims. He covered it up. I consider him to be a corrupt church leader. I never heard from him. It was only when I made the effort to go to this area pastor Afolabi's local headquarters in Lagos, Ikeja. I had to find out where they were myself, and I had to make the effort to go there myself. And I spoke to an assistant provincial pastor, Davis. It was only when I spoke to him that he told me he and his his boss, the provincial pastor, that they had heard from this pastor E.A. Adeboye, only not to intervene and tell them to stop what they're doing and tell them to hand over the property and vacate the property and put things right. All he had done was sent a copy of my letter to them, and all they had done was file it away. That's all they did. That's all this Pastor E.A. Adeboye did. He never compelled them or pressured them to put things right. He just passed it on to them without requiring them to do anything. And all they did was just keep it in their files. And this assistant provincial pastor was basically a crook to me. He was dishonest. He basically told me that the executor, this crooked executor, had the right to do what he had done and had the right to make the crooked deal that he had made with them. He told me that this crooked executor, he told me that the church's dealings were with this executor, not with us. Nothing to do with us, with this executor. Yes, your dealings may be with this executor, but your dealings are with a crook. Your dealings are with a crook. This assistant provincial pastor was a crook as well. He was a crook. He was dishonest and he was a crook. He even had the cheek to tell me, don't go to the house. Don't go there. Don't go there when they're holding a meeting. Obviously, he has no right to do that. So he was facilitated by this General Overseer E.A. Adeboye to do that. I hold E.A. Adeboye responsible because I went to him. I made the effort to go to him. I wrote a personal letter and I hand-delivered the letter to someone to pass on to him, which they did pass on to him, and he never, ever replied me. And something serious like this, when I'm telling him, someone's stolen in your church, has stolen our house, and they've demolished inside the house, and they're using it as a church. They put a big sign outside, a big sign, double sign outside. You know, they're collecting money in there. They're using it as a church. I've told him that, and he's done nothing. I never heard a single word from him, and I've not heard a single word from him to today. And he's coming to London on September the 19th, 2025 to host a big meeting at Excel London called It's called Festival of Life. Festival of Life. They hold this every year, I think, most years. So I'm producing this video to tie in with that. I'm producing it to tie in with that. I may even put in an appearance there because I would like to speak to this Pastor E.A. Adeboye, you know, because right to this day, from that 2019 to this day, 2025, this Pastor Afolabi, area pastor, and his Redeemed Christian Church of God congregation have remained in our house. They've remained in our house. They've taken over our house, and they haven't paid us a single penny in rent from 2019 to 2025. They haven't paid us one single penny. Also, I've been threatened with physical violence by this area pastor, even by his wife. His wife told me when we met at the police station to meet with this senior police officer, she told me at the police station that if we were not at the police station, she would beat me up. Yes, this is a Christian woman, a pastor's wife. She told me if we were not at the police station, she would beat me up. Can you make this up? And some months later, when I came across this area pastor Afolabi, and I told him what his wife told me at the police station, he agreed with her. He said to me, yes, you should be beaten up. You should be beaten up. And others in that congregation have threatened to beat me up, have been physically aggressive with me when I've come to my own house. I've had to physically defend myself at times. They were telling me to get out of my own house, you know. So this is Redeemed Christian Church of God that are having a big meeting at Excel, September the 19th, 2025. So I'm making this video to tie into that. There's more I could say, but this video has been long enough. And of course, I didn't need all this. I've already suffering a lot from Gideon's sons, my own British Transport Police brother, several police forces in this country, England, London, British Transport Police, who haven't helped me deal with my brother, Cumbria Constabulary. I've suffered a lot of abuse from this corrupt Cumbria Constabulary. City of London Police, they've worked against me. Essex Police, who my brother used to try to have me prosecuted. Metropolitan Police, who my brother tried to get to threaten me with a harassment warning. I've suffered a lot. I didn't need this stuff to happen in Nigeria too.